Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network, a division of the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network. The following program broadcast is an original creation by the broadcast entity. Discussion within the following broadcast should be used for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice or consultation. Before considering application of any broadcast content in the following program, please consult your healthcare provider. If you feel you are having a medical emergency, please contact your local health services for immediate assistance. MS&Me Media and the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network do not guarantee or warrant the accuracy of information in the broadcast to follow. The Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network provisions broadcast services to program hosts. Information discussed in the broadcast does not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or goals of the network and are solely those of the show broadcast host. Should you wish to host a broadcast, please visit our website at msmemedia.com and submit a request to become a program host. We thank you for listening to the MS&Me Radio Network. Enjoy the show.
Hello there, this is Kaz Aston checking in on MS&Me from London in the United Kingdom. Or the UK, if you prefer. How are you? I hope you're well, and I hope life's been treating you well. That's the most important thing, isn't it, really? But it's great to catch up again. And I'm going to look at some different topics today because I want to think about other things, not just, some of the mainstream stuff that we hear about, but how we've got to live and living on the edge. And one of the things that we all go through, I think, in life, unless you're very, very fortunate and you come from a very rich family background. Money, MS and money, money can generate so much worry and stress. And, particularly if you've got a family, you've got to get somewhere for the kids to sleep and, or your parents or whatever. You've got to get that. And that's so important, isn't it, having a home? And I think for people with MS as well, because of the fatigue, having a place that they can actually rest and relax is even more important. So, I think that's so, critical for people to get the balance right as well with the sleeping in their lives. I mean, I know perhaps we'll do a session on MS and sleep and ask some of these experts because they're ready. I mean, I've gone round and collected all these different people that said they will pick up on questions, they will do an interview, they will render as much support or give some tips or some new knowledge or some headlines accordingly. So that's really, really good. And I'm glad that, we have those opportunities, to be honest, because it makes the show more interesting, doesn't it? If you've got people that are talking, about current stuff and telling you the best, latest research and things that could really help your MS. That's got to be good, hasn't it? I mean, I can't see anything wrong with that. But again, ultimately, as we always say, the final decisions often, that you overlook are down to you. We've got to drive this journey. We've got to get through it ourselves, and it's something that I urge people to do. I mean, I reached out to my bank and said to them, what can you do? How can you help me? I've had a bit of expenditure that I wasn't expecting and what's available. And yeah, I've got MS. So, that does come under the sort of disability stuff as well. It's recognised that I'm disabled, so to speak. But, the fact is, what can this bank do to help me? How can we move forward? And one of the things that I think I found so refreshing in the whole experience with my bank, and I'm not promoting any bank or anything, this is just I bank with NatWest, and that's, who I bank with. And basically there's I don't know, probably about 5 or 6 high street bank type things in the UK. I mean, there's lots. We all do online banking now as well. So lots of different banking options. But I actually went to arrange a face-to-face and I had a chat to them and I explained a few things and they told me what was available, and then they looked at the whole situation and said what they thought was possibly a good option and what might be a bit harder, and they actually gave me some costings and stuff, which was really helpful. So I would urge people to go and arrange a chat with the bank. Well, they say bank manager. I mean, they had a really glamorous title. I can't, so glamorous, I can't remember. But, you know, that's one of the things that, you know, I can say could be my MS, sometimes memory or sometimes fatigue. But, you know, debt causes a lot of stress as well. And, you know, that can affect your MS. And we want to get the balance right. We want to keep this MS not active, don't we? So we can get on with stuff and enjoy life. And, you know, I actually, because of this whole financial thing, I thought, I'll look at every option that's available. And I actually found, you know, Step Change in the UK, which is a debt charity. And, you know, they work with all the right people to get you through tough times. So I know this isn't going to apply to other countries, but I'm just saying it's worth a look for what you have in your kind of infrastructure in the country that you live or the area that you live. You know, reaching out in your local community sometimes can be very, very, very beneficial. And you tend to get a lot of experience sharing that way, and a lot of people talking about different things about their MS and how they manage stuff. So again, you know, as I'm always saying to you, ask. If you don't ask, you don't know, I think sometimes. And that's why, you know, the whole banking agenda's changed. And I can honestly say, actually, that my bank, I was looking at all this new technology and I thought, wow, look at where this has gone in the last sort of like 2 years even. Really got quite good, you know, that you can pay in and do everything, but you don't actually have to go and talk to somebody if you're in a rush or there's a big queue, which quite often I find in, you know, in central London banks, you know, it's busy. There's a lot of people coming into town. There's a lot of people working there, and a lot of people dash there in their lunch break, as I was doing too. So again, you know, you look at the online resources that are available. I mean, I must be honest, my online banking's really improved over the years, and you know, that's a useful tool for helping us manage our finances to ultimately reduce the stress on our MS. So that's got to be good, hasn't it? You know, and obviously if you're going through, well, not obviously, but if you're going through these challenges, that can affect you as an individual with your health, your diet, your sleep, your exercise, you know, your social interaction. All of those things can be affected. So again, let's look at the bigger picture here. You know, I mean, I'm always saying to you about asking for help. But I think, you know, that's important that we do look at that, and we look at the options that are in our, you know, in our reach, at our fingertips, you know. So have a look. I was quite surprised. I thought I had a good understanding and a good overall knowledge, and I learned loads. And I think we're always learning. And it's good to learn. And they always go on about knowledge is power, the informed patient, you know, make the right decision. We will give you the information to do that. You know, and when you're choosing possibly MS treatment regimes or looking at MS research from therapies or whatever it may be, you know, I think it is important to see what other people have said about it, if you can. MS is relatively new, we know this, but I think it's always worth having a look at a trustworthy website and having a bit of a, you know, some of the MS societies do brilliant websites. I'm not going to actually promote any of them because I think you should look and see what works best for you. But they're all good. You know, they all do something different, and they all add something to the mix of a balanced life with MS. So I would say, you know, it's always worth looking at your opportunities, and sometimes the charities even partner and work together, which I think's good, and it gives a different perspective. But some of the charities with MS will say that they have different remits for people, and some are for helping therapists get the right knowledge and skills, or some might be dietitians, you know, with the right diet, and some could be physiotherapy, because you could have, well, that's what we call it in the UK, to help with walking and mobility. So there's a whole raft of different things that could bring you to these people. And so when you do get to them, ask. That's what I say. I sometimes as well go with a bit of paper with my questions written down, because I think it is stressful if you're going to see a doctor anyway. You know, I mean, they go on about when you have your blood pressure checked, white coat hypertension, your blood pressure goes up. So, you know, there are things that are going to affect our life, and if you can reduce that, and reduce the effect of potential stress levels that you have and the knock-ons with your MS, that only seems a good idea, doesn't it? And, as I said, the whole money thing is quite because we need money to survive. We work to get money. We do all of these things. And, and ultimately we're always striving. And we're talking about knowledge is power. I mean, I'm very excited that the ECTRIMS conference is coming. And I really, really am excited about seeing what comes out of that. What are the new headlines? And it's great because they are shared and we can share them through social media. And I think, it's really good to actually look at that, because you might get some takeaways from reading that research, that evidence, that presentation that could help your life or help people that are trying to help your life. I think that's important too. So, have a look at those things, because that's what I found have really helped. Because this whole stress thing, we really need to move away from. And when I know that stress, it really can have a negative impact and kick my MS into becoming active. So I've had that experience in my life. And as we go through life, we all have different experiences, don't we? And I think that, well, we've got to look at what we can get as well to support us through this journey, and and also support us if we're doing some charity work for MS. I mean, that's the other angle as money as well. We're always doing our fundraising, ways to help charities, ways to help people get the right equipment that they might need that's not available from their doctor, or if they pay for their medical care they can't afford. So I think that's really important, because there's a lot of services out there that people sometimes don't even know about. And I think it's good when you move, of course, to a new location, but also have a look, because there's all these new things coming up and new projects that happen, particularly with clinical trials and research. They're looking at everything. They're not just looking at getting the drug into your whatever way, tablet, needle, injection, intravenous, whatever. They're looking at the whole you. And I think that's really important, to look at the whole of the situation. And, we know that work is really a big part of our lives. And we know that people retire earlier from work in professional jobs or unprofessional jobs because of their MS. The statistical evidence is there. I read it, I don't know, it must be about 3 or 4 years ago, maybe, possibly. It's worth checking up. Maybe I'll try and get some stuff and share on that. But again, every country's got slightly different slants on it. But, a medical fact, people with MS often retire, sometimes about 15 years earlier, sometimes a lot less. Sometimes they always keep working until they die, because that's the motivation and the power in their mind to keep going. They've got a purpose. They've got something that they're working towards and they want to achieve. So, I think that's really important. And so, as I said, I've got something I want to achieve for ECTRIMS. I want to see what comes out and see if there's some good stuff that we can share on MS&Me. MS&Me ECTRIMS, and see what's coming out that could really give us hope. It could give us a lot of positive feelings. It might be really refreshing. It could be really simple stuff about equipment or things that could make life easier. So, or supplements or diet or anything. So, I'm looking forward to that, and I want to share that. And also as well, I think what I want to talk about is when we're on our fundraising journey, we do meet a lot of people. I mean, I'm a member of Rotary. Rotary comes from America, and it's a bit of a worldwide charity with business professionals working, service above self being the mantra. It's actually trying to put something back, trying to help charity, trying to help local groups. Being engaged with your local communities is really big in Rotary, because there's lots of clubs. There's over 1.2 million Rotarians around the world. It's big stuff. They do some really good stuff. I mean, the whole stuff that you might have seen or heard of with the mission to end polio that, you know, which is also supported by the Gates Foundation, and obviously Mr. Gates is a Rotarian, and you know, it's good to see when you work and you will have the access to work with people of that level, what difference they can make. And you know, and I know that they will get a cure for polio and this end polio. But again, you know, I was having a look at this whole polio situation, and there's even post polio. And a lot of people don't know about post polio. I found out. I hadn't heard of it actually until a little while ago. But there's a lot of people that develop lots of problems after they've had polio, and they can affect, again, the whole of the body in different ways, particularly some of the things around mobility as well. But, you know, the fact of the matter is everybody's journey with MS, I think, is different. Everybody goes and does different things in their life. So, you know, I love this whole kind of mantra for myself about trying to share top tips. And that's why I've booked a lot of appointments to do some interviews with some MS specialists. Hopefully we shall, you know, generate some questions that maybe we need to ask an expert for. Or maybe we will ask an expert as well as asking you guys. You know, everybody, you know, needs to think about this one. If we're going to get the best solution, then we need to spread the gauge on the gun, so to speak, so it goes wider. You know, it's actually going to get to more people. So, you know, we can actually make sure that we're, you know, helping. And as I said, this post polio stuff is something that I've learned about, and it's nice that actually my company said, well, look, this is terrible, let's make a donation, you know, to actually people that are doing lots of education about polio and lots of clinical research, and it's good. So it's nice to be able to donate to something that you definitely know where it's going and what it's doing. As I said, it gives you confidence, doesn't it, if you know where you're donating your money to, and then you know what it's gone for. I think is really nice, and that's so important too. So, you know, it's a good way that we can support other charities. I mean, Rotary supports loads of different charities. I support lots of different charities. You know, I don't just support MS, and I think sometimes that's important, not to get too focused on the same thing. You know, think wider, think about the bigger picture. You know, think about having some fun. You know, think about having some fun fundraising events. You know, think I do that, and that's really good. You know, and it helps people to see people doing all this stuff with MS, which is another, I find, really reassuring opportunity for someone with MS to see someone that's had MS, maybe, well, someone like me that's been diagnosed with it for, you know, a long time. So, and suffered with it for even longer. As I said, from when I was about 10 years old. So we don't talk age, we said that, but, you know, I'm over 18, and that's what I like to say. But you know, these things in MS, as we said, can affect children, and I would really love to have some stuff about pediatric MS and what's happening, and there's lots of new research coming out there, and I've been following some of that. So I think, you know, I think one of the ways maybe that could work is packaging information up, that we share the headlines with links. You know, we can do stuff online with relevant websites to actually enable you to go and have a look at this stuff, or just guide you to get to look at the right website. I think is a big start. So, you know, we've talked about the whole monetary agenda. We've talked about reaching out and asking for help. We've talked about what's happening in Europe with all the MS experts going there, and nurses and patients and everybody. I mean, it's an eclectic mix of wonderful people, as far as I can see. So, you know, there's a lot of conferences that go on. I'm going to some MS meetings in the not too distant future. So I'm going to do a bit of my raving reporter on that and get some nice interviews or some nice stuff for the show. So we can share again the latest information, but also some tips and some help, and and let you know what's going on in the other side of the world. Maybe it might help you to appreciate what you've got more, or maybe think I should have better. Everybody's got to look at their treatment and their regimes and their lifestyle to see what's happening, I think, and review it. And I think that's very important. To review things with your medical team is very important with your MS. I mean, we have these review checks with my drug treatment, with the nurses once a month, and with our doctors when we need. Because, as I said, some of these drugs are still in their infancies and treatments and things. So it's, we've got to make sure that the person's okay and that they're making, good progress without having to go through certain symptoms that might be terrible to live with. If we can give them something, if we can counteract some of these symptoms, then that's got to be good, hasn't it? So, that's how I feel about that. Because, if you're trying to keep working with MS, you're trying to keep going, you're trying to look after your family. We know that we've got more women with MS, so we know that there's going to be more linkage, and we know that that's going to impact on managing your children and your family, and your relationships. Relationships take a lot of work, and they need a lot of help and support sometimes. To get through difficult times, together as a team, together with your partner, or actually with your family and friends. So lots of different styles and communication techniques there, I must say. Everyone's got a different one, but I think that's nice. Makes it a bit more refreshing, And on, with the refreshing and stuff, it's quite exciting because I'm off to do some training with Nick James and his team, because I want to see if he can help me get my information out even further to people with MS, see what he can do. I've told him why I'm doing his training. But the nice part about it is that because I'm doing some of this training, they've even said, well, look, why, do you want to do this training? Because you haven't done that, and that will really help you. And we think you're missing that, because they're looking at what's going to be good for you. And I think that sometimes going back to college or going back to education classes or social training education, it doesn't have to be in a school. You can learn, can't you? You can learn on your laptop. You can learn anywhere. But, I think it is good to keep yourself up to date. And I'm very much that way inclined, because I think if I'm providing something for somebody, then it should be the best I can possibly provide. It should be the latest knowledge-based, evidence-based. Why I'm doing this, because this has been done, that research has been done, we found this consultant said that. There's lots of things that are shared sometimes through MS conferences. I said about ECTRIMS, but I'm off to another one, and I tend to go to MS meetings throughout the year, really, with MS in the 21st century. That's a group represented from every country in the world. It was great when we had people from America and all these different European countries and all over, and Switzerland, everywhere. It was great, and we move around and we do that. We've had that, and we link that in to some of the other stuff we do with various pharmaceutical companies and their education agendas, because the pharmaceutical companies do support a lot of education and research. Yes, they make the drugs, yes, they sell the drugs, but at the same time, it's important that we have all the options in front of us and know that. But at the same time as well, we at least have an option that's been evidence-based, that's been discussed by the people that are prescribing. We have NICE in the UK, National Institute of Clinical Excellence, to help make decisions about drug treatments, to make sure that drugs, the best drugs and the right treatments and the right lifestyle recommendations are actually the right ones. So, yeah. So anyway, lots happening in the London team at the moment, and look forward to trying to get some stuff out over the website, some links about ECTRIMS, as I said, and also just, catching up. So I hope you have a wonderful Sunday and a great time today, and I look forward to catching up soon. And please email me. Please get in touch. Kaz Aston's the name. Google me. You can find some easy links to get in touch, but also easily through the radio show. So MS&Me, we have our clear communication links that are there for you. So lots of love. Goodbye from London.